Right, and welcome to our second wave of Wellingborough Climate Conversations. Yes, absolutely.
It's behind you.
Yeah. I'm going to go through a few things in a minute, but before we do, because we are actually recording this session for those that couldn't be here today. So, which is why I've got the mic, because usually I wouldn't be in the Victoria Centre in the lounge with the microphone. But we are doing that today. So if you do speak, we will pass the mic to you so you get heard. So because we are recording, I just need to ask if anybody doesn't particularly want to be recorded, please be mindful that or sit to the side of the camera at the back. Is that all right? Are people happy to be recorded? If you're not, just let us know, please. Yeah. Okay. So we'll carry on then. Thank you. Introductions. So I'm Marion Turner-Hawes. I'm the coordinator of the Wellingborough Climate Action Project. I do a few other things in the community as well. And this is Jonathan, who is the other project worker on the Climate Action Project, and he also does a lot of other things in the community. You can see him around in lots of different places. So today, other than us, obviously, there's lots of different people here today, and I usually, because there's not too many of us, so it's quite nice. If I pass the mic round, you can just say your name, and yeah, a little bit about if you're with an organisation, who that organisation is, and you might want to say why you're here. But if you don't want to say anything much at all, just say your name. Thank you. And we've introduced ourselves.
Hi, I'm Victoria Blake. I'm the Environment Studies Manager at the University of Northampton. I've come along to discover some of what it is that we're doing within the Wellingborough Climate Action Group, doing a lot of work together, the opportunities there are. But we also represent a lot of groups like the Sustainability Forum. And I personally, I live in Manchester, so I'm also the other person that's
Hello, I'm Alex from Northamptonshire Community Foundation. We are a local independent funder, so we give out grants to voluntary and community sector organisations. We've got sort of several different interests in climate action because we've signed up to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Included within that is climate action, and then also we have several wind farm grant funding programmes across the county, such as Burton, Latimer, Rushden, Bickwell, Yelverton, and Winnick. So it's really interesting to see what's going on, and we're looking to see if there's anything, conversations like this in terms of having these types of conversations with possible donors and fund holders who might be interested in funding this kind of work, as well as what the needs are within the sector as well.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Kerry. My business is Food for Thought and Fans. It's a refill shop in just up the road, actually, in Maincourt. So I started that because I was particularly worried about what was going on in terms of pollution. I've always been kind of switched on to this sort of thing, as in, life on planet Earth. But I'd always been ostracised for that sort of thing. Like, I don't think people like the deep conversations. So I'm here from my business point of view to see what people are interested in, if there's anything that I can do to help, and just generally from a personal interest, because yeah, I'm far from a perfect person who is vegan and walks everywhere. So actually, helps to understand what's going on, what can be done, because we can all do more, really. So yeah, I'm Kerry.
I am Derek Dulles. I'm a member of the human race. That's why I'm here, because I'd like it to continue. And next year. I've been involved with climate change since the 1970s. Teacher. It's been my privilege to live and work in other parts of the world, some of which are already underwater because of rising sea levels. Climate change is a fact, and we've decided, my wife and myself, and people, like to do something, it's too late. The time is running out. Therefore, if anything is going on in terms of climate change, I'm more than willing to get along, and so as my colleagues, really, and there are some familiar faces around here because it's a busy. We get us to do things. See the same faces, the same demonstrations all the time. And we know each other quite well. Okay? Yeah.
I'll stand up. So I'm Sally, I'm the town clerk for Wellingborough Town Council. I'm going to talk to you today a bit about the work the town council does and how we can be involved in the community.
Hello, I'm Kevin Johnston. I'm manager of Victoria Centre, passionate about renewables. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Darling. I'm a local, so I was back up in Wellingborough on the Shelley Road, and I met Marion at Solar and Storage Live a month ago. And funny enough, she offered me the opportunity to talk to Glamis Hall about their expansion of their renewables. We're a supply chain partner, so we can help provide product to installers who might be doing your installation. So there's a lot of, I think, thought about getting involved, but how do we get involved? So really for us, it's about helping you to deliver projects and actually go ahead and do something. Green Tech, UK Green Tech.
Hi, my name is Greg Moore. I have a professional interest in this. I'm an electrical scientist, which means I deal with buildings, and I've been interested in low energy buildings.
Thank you very much, everybody. And do you want to introduce yourself, Karen?
I'll stay at the front there, Karen.
Right, thank you everybody for your introductions. It's just helpful to know who's in the room, really, and not just for me, but for you all to know who's in the room. You want to introduce yourself, Karen? No?
I'm Karen. I'm Marion's wife.
Okay, so we'll crack on. So this is the agenda for this morning. We've got a couple of hours together. We've obviously done the introductions. I'm just going to do a bit of reminding us while we're all here, really, because we don't keep saying it. And then a bit of a report back about the Wellingborough Climate Action Project, because we had these conversations. We started these conversations back in March, and we wanted to report back to you about what's been able to be achieved, what we have achieved since then. But not just us, others as well. So we've invited a few other people to come and speak about their work they've been doing since the climate conversations. So we've got obviously Sally from the council is going to be speaking, and then Jonathan speaking in behalf of the Eco Group. And then Paul's going to be having a chat to us about renewable kit and stuff as well. And then we're going to have a look at what next really for the Climate Action Project. We've got a few things in the pipeline, so I'll show you those, but also we're up for really hearing what your ideas and thoughts are. And what we also need, there's the Climate Action Project, not just a project, it's trying to do action within Wellingborough. So what else we need in Wellingborough. And then if we've got a little bit of time, maybe we'll have a little bit of time to chat to each other, and then we pack up at 12. Okay, that's a quick run through. Just a few ground rules. If you can put your hand up to speak, obviously we'll pass the mic to you. And one person speaking at a time will be helpful. I know we're not on Zoom today, but yeah, if people are speaking across each other and we're recording it, it might not be easy to follow people when they're watching this later on. Can we avoid, I know it's not easy when we're talking about climate stuff, but we can avoid jargon and anachronisms, or if you use one, can you just explain what it is? Thank you. And we might not all agree with each other, but it's important that everybody here respects each other and listens to what we've got to say. And if people can put their mobile phone on silent, that'd be helpful. We'll take that completely. Is there any other rules that we should be mindful of? Now, because I'm in a building, I'm so used to not being in the building anymore when doing these talks. A few housekeeping things around fire exits, etc. The toilets are just out here, just that door doesn't open, this one does. So the gents is just on the end, and the ladies are straight across, and there's a disabled room next to the gents. Fire escape wise, we can go out that door just there by the Victoria Centre side and go to the front of the building, Kevin.
Yep, across the road.
Yeah, if the alarm goes off. There is another exit out that way, but it would be better to go out that one because you'll be straight out front. Any other housekeeping to mention about the building? We're not expecting the fire alarm, are we? Okay. As you can see, Jonathan is taking pictures, and obviously we've spoken about the filming as well. In terms of refreshments, there are biscuits and hot drinks available at the back of the room. We're not planning to have a tea break per se, but if you want to get a drink, please do, of course, do that. Just one thing, if you are going near that camera, if you can give it a wide berth, because it's a bit delicate. Are there any questions before we kick off? Right, so just reminding ourselves of the challenge that we're facing and where we'd like to get after that. Okay, so climate change, well, climate emergency really. So the basics of climate change are the planet is heating because of the increasing levels of greenhouse gases that we're emitting clearly now because of human activity. It's warming the planet. I mean, this is a picture just showing the level of CO2 rise from the 1700s to 2020. As you can see, in the last 50, 60 years, it's just increasing exponentially. And this is a chart just showing surface temperature increases. And for me, this is quite a stark picture. As you can see, the red is where these are temperatures above the average in particular years, since 1880. And you can see that basically since 1980, we're having lots of average warmer years than we've ever had for a very long time, at least 150 years. So, and it's just going one way at the moment. And when you overlay the carbon dioxide emissions graph, on top of that, you can see how closely linked they both are. So,
It's probably quite self-explanatory, but where it says CO2 concentration, is that the point where it's kind of estimated or proven that basically that was a turning point because there was too much and all of a sudden shit is going the wrong way? That makes sense. Where there's that arrow.
that's just a label arrow. Yeah, because they're just showing how the two things. No, it's just saying that's the line showing the CO2 emission increase, and in the back drop is the temperature. So you're just seeing the two together and seeing how closely linked they are. So basically, the planet is warming very, very quickly. Well, depends on who's in human scale, but it is very quickly, even in my lifetime. So I just want to just show you a few bits and bobs to do with that, actually. So when we did these talks back in March, so we did talks with supported by the town council in March, and one of the audience mentioned this isn't climate change, this is a climate emergency. And I just want to back that point up, actually. This is a climate emergency. I mean, I've been aware of various dates myself, but I was just checking this up last night. And so is everybody aware of what the IPCC is? Have you heard of the IPCC? So that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And obviously they've been working for decades now across countries to bring forward understanding related to climate action. So they've calculated to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees C. Remember, Paris Agreement was we've got to keep the temperature rise below 1.5 degrees C across the average temperature across the Earth. So obviously people have been able to work out what remaining carbon carbon dioxide level, emissions are available to us in that scale, in that time scale. I mean, to achieve that particular temperature, and it's been calculated it's about 400 billion tons of CO2 equivalent emissions globally. But when you know, that's the budget, and that would run out itself by 2030. So basically, if we don't take serious action by that point, it will be extremely hard to avoid a temperature increase of 1.5 degrees, you know, as a minimum. So now when you equate that to what's happening in the UK, so our share of that, basically these calculations were done in 2020. And so if the UK, if we to not exceed our fair proportion of those emissions, we're actually talking about our proportion running out by the beginning of January 2025. So basically 2 years' time. And, you know, I mean, many of us can be very angry that no one is talking about this at all, or only very vaguely and not really explaining it to people. But, you know, so the net zero target should be 2025 for the UK, not 2050. So now do we see why it's an emergency? But this is not being, you know, I won't get too despondent about this, but you know, because we have to carry on anyway, we have to keep going, we have to keep doing our best. But it's just to just clarify why it's really important that we start taking action and we start collaborating, and the work that we do is coordinated across our area, our communities, our county. We've got to start putting this at the heart of everything that we do. So I know it's a bit of a wake-up point, but I just wanted to show you the opportunities that we have in relation to this massive emergency, because with every challenge there are opportunities. We can revision the way that we live and the way that we work. So when we change everything, it doesn't have to be a hair shirt thing of loss, of deprivation. It can be an enabling experience that us all have better lives and better opportunities in our communities as well, and better experiences. So I just want to show you this quick film to strike a slightly different note. That's okay. My apologies if you've seen this before.
Anything we ever achieve starts with someone imagining it first. So if we can't imagine a way out of the climate crisis, it just can't happen. We know that the crisis is getting worse every single day, and many of us are losing hope for it. But despair is not an option. We must rise up and meet the greatest challenge of our life with stubborn optimism. And imagining is the first step. So, are you ready to imagine? In this critical decade, the biggest tree planting campaign in history is sucking billions of tons of carbon out of the air, and forests and indigenous lands, they're protected. This is what your city looks like. It's green, I mean everywhere. Streets are pedestrian and teen friendly. Food growing on rooftops, in car parks, which by the way, we don't need anymore because we don't own cars anymore. And here's something. Birds. Can you imagine your city as a sanctuary for nature and wildlife? There are solar panels on every roof across the globe. Clean, interconnected energy lights every home, every clinic, every school. We no longer choke on the toxic fumes of fossil fuels. It's not hard to imagine. This technology already exists. And what about the millions of new jobs created? Are you picturing it? Really picturing it? Roads, they're green too. Traffic's cut right down. Public transport everywhere is electric, dependable, and free. Can you smell the air? Clean, farming, all regenerative, which means healthy soil and better food. And we don't need much meat. Can you imagine what we could use with a third of the world's cropland currently used to grow animal feed? Here's something to imagine. Fields of seaweed, miles long, growing oceans that cross the planet. They break down billions of tons of carbon, restore sea life, and guess what? They're a limitless source of protein-rich food. And we can do so much more. Rewild our land, protect our cities from rising sea levels, restore coral reefs. These things we're imagining, they're all possible now, just with technology that's available today. We are the last generation that can prevent catastrophic runaway climate change. We cannot give up. Anything we ever achieve started with someone imagining it first. This is the decade to make this imagined future happen. Share this video and help those around you have the courage to imagine it too.
I like to put that on because it's cheaper. Gonna help remember. Okay, so Derek,
Sorry, Mary, can you share that leave?
yeah, everything, just to say, everything we're sharing, everything we're doing today, obviously it's being recorded anyway, but we can, so as long as you put your email address on the signing in sheet, we can send you slides. But what I will say is, usually anything we do, we put on our website straight off. So all the talks we've done, all the workshops we've done, which I'll tell you about in a minute, all of that is on our website anyway, but we can send stuff out. So thanks for the question. Okay, so in our spirit of positive action, this is what we've been trying to do in Wellingborough, what we've been doing in Wellingborough. So the Wellingborough Climate Action Project is a little bit of an introduction. This has been a 12-month project, started in February, with funding from North Northampton Council from the renovation, not renovation, doing too much around the Recovery and Innovation Fund. So we've had some funds and the project is hosted by Glamis Hall for all and supported by the Wellingborough Eco Group. That's a joint partnership. And the aims of the project really are to help us all better understand the challenges of this climate emergency, and bring people, business, communities together to see how we can start to transition to more sustainable ways of living and working to make our life experiences better as well. That's our vision. So we're going to change. We might as well change to what we really want and what we dream of, which is why I always bring my magic wand. You know, it is about waving our magic wand and starting to really think differently and act differently. But sometimes you need a bit of a route map to do that. So that's kind of what we've been thinking about this year, how we enable that route map. So we managed to achieve quite a lot in a short space of time. So I'm just going to quickly run through that. So obviously March, just gone, we had 3 climate conversations where we were introducing the project, funded by the town council. We had one was here, one was at Glamis Hall, and one was at the Hemmingwell Skills Centre. And lots of people came along and we looked at this challenge in detail. And we had some thoughts about who's doing what, who's helping where, and how we can move forward together. A few of us went on to carbon literacy training after that, and we qualified to be carbon literate. And since then, I've seen a lot of a number of the local authorities locally and a number of organisations are also sending their staff. And I think I remember Victoria here from the University of Northampton mentioning last week about sending her colleagues on carbon literacy training. So that's a kind of introduction to the challenge to get everybody on the same page in terms of us being able to act and work together. What we've also done throughout the year from May to the end of October, we ran 11 energy stroke sustainability workshops. And because of the energy crisis, we started the energy part of that whole conversation about living sustainably at the start of those sessions. And then we looked at things like, so we looked at energy saving, insulating our homes, retrofitting our homes, renewable energy, renewable heating, sustainable transport, sustainable food, how we cut our waste, lots and lots of different things. I say deep dive, it wasn't really a deep dive, you can't cover so much in a 2-hour session in a workshop, but more detail than we were able to do in the climate conversation. But all of those workshops were recorded, all the slides and the recordings are available on the website. So even if you didn't get along, the materials are there. So all the time when we do stuff, we're trying to keep a record so that people can jump in and connect whenever they are ready to do that and understand what we're trying to achieve together. But most of the topics we were skimming the surface of what actions we need to do with them. But it was a good start for us all. And then we were fortunate enough as a project, Glamis Hall, as I say, is the host of this project. And through Glamis Hall, I was able to go on, so South East Midlands Local Enterprise Partnership, known as SEMLEP. They were offering an opportunity for local firms from across Northamptonshire to understand how to create their own carbon reduction plan. So we jumped at the opportunity to learn how to do that, and we went along. I tried to support other businesses to get to go as well. But it was a really good one-day session, and I learned how to do that. So then we went back to Glamis and we sat down and started carbon mapping, which was a really interesting process. And for all of us really, I mean, within a business, they talk about scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and actually, all of that relates to us as individual families as well as businesses and communities. We can use this model to help us all understand where we are now in our own emissions picture and what we can do about it. For me, it was a wonderful thing to do, to learn the steps of carbon mapping and then see the implications as a result of identifying what we were finding out. And straight away, you know, if you bought anything from China, and there's no disrespect to people of China, but if you bought anything from China, you were going to have a high level of carbon emissions. And I think, so we've got a lot of thinking to do as we start to think about relocalizing. But that's where the opportunities, particularly for communities and business, start to come in as well. But I could just do a talk just about that today, but I won't. Anyway, so we mapped the carbon emissions for Glamis Hall for All. And we created Glamis Hall's first ever carbon reduction plan. And because we think it's not just about cutting carbon emissions, if we're going to transition, we also looked at the UN goals for sustainability. You'll be pleased to hear about it. We looked at the UN goals for sustainable development, and we incorporated a number of those into Glamis Hall's carbon reduction and sustainability plan. So that we're looking at holistically at the changes that organisation needs to make and what it can do in the community to help other people do that. And I suppose this project is a reflection of what Glamis Hall is leading on this, supporting us to do. And that when you're doing the mapping, because you have the map upstream, so things coming to you and downstream, it really shows us about our interconnectivity as organisations and as people, and why, if we start, then it's really good if we all start and we can all help each other in this process. So creating a virtuous circle of improvement. So they're the Sustainable Development Goals, and we picked a few of those and incorporated them in our plan. You don't have to pick all of them. If there's only one that you think you can relate to, you can bring that into your own plan. But for us, there was quite a few that Glamis Hall was already working on. So the other thing we did then with STEMLEC, because we've done that work, because we've created our carbon reduction and sustainability plan, we were able to go for an additional grant to do further actions. And that grant, I mean, one of the main things we wanted to do was, because Glamis Hall has got solar panels on its roof, it's got 92 solar panels. And it's been generating power there since 2017. And we want to make sure that all of that power is used by the centre and doesn't go back to the grid, because unfortunately you don't get a lot of money for what you're giving back to the grid, but then you're paying a lot of money from anything you take from the grid. So we're looking at that, and it's something that is affecting a lot of organisations and businesses as well. I mean, all of us personally have been through challenges around our own energy bills, but for businesses, it's unbelievable the price increases for business. So we're looking at that as a challenge that we're trying to help colleagues address, and Paul and his colleagues have been helping us to think that out, because I thought it would be straightforward, but actually it wasn't straightforward at all. You know, there's quite a bit to work on with that. We've also helped Glamis Hall get another energy performance assessment, and when Glamis Hall, about 2010, it was actually a G-rated property. And now it's a B-rated property with all the work that the charity has done in the last, since 2015 when the community took it over. So, and that's as it stands at the moment before we do even further work on the property at the moment. So we've also worked with Wellingborough Town Council, and they, as I said earlier, supported us to host the climate conversations at the beginning of the year. And Sally's going to be telling you a bit more about what the council has done and what it's planning to do in future. But we joined in with some conversations that Sally, our town clerk, organised to do with what else needs to happen in the community. And that was earlier on. That was this. A number of those conversations actually happened here in this room, didn't they? And we've also linked with business. And in terms of the talks that we've been doing as a community, the response from business has been so positive, and people, basically, we have not been able to keep up with the level of interest in business about how to take action and what to do, both in terms of learning how to do their own carbon reduction plans, but also about the opportunities that getting on the right side of where we need to be going, on the right track, can actually help to enable for those organisations, whether they're involved in the transition, you know, in say in the renewable business or not. A lot of people and a lot of businesses will have new opportunities by being part and supporting the transition that we need to create. And I think people are getting clearer on that. So we spoke at Northern Business Network meeting and supporting the Chamber of Commerce as well. And as part of the new funding that we got from SEMLET, we're intending to create an energy advice and kind of climate action service from the new year. So I've been doing work to both, get a service design together, which has again been a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because really trying to understand the context of who's helping who to do what. And this service, a lot of it will be about helping people to understand what's happening in their own home, particularly, and maybe their own business premises, and how they might take retrofit action, and how to do that holistically and sustainably and affordably. So we've got a lot of work to do, but we thought, the basis of this would be to make sure that at least one of us as part of the team understands the energy performance assessment process. So I've become a domestic energy assessor and a retrofit assessor. I'm delighted to see that there is a system coming in place for retrofit work that is much more holistic, and talks about whole building retrofits. Not sure if that also applies in the business sector, but that's my next course. But yeah, so that's going to be the basis of the service that we're going to be offering in the future. Sorry, Kerry, you wanted a question?
Can you just explain what retrofit is?
Thank you, good question. Retrofit is how to improve our buildings, whether domestic or business buildings or commercial or community buildings, to reduce the CO2 emissions that they're and also to reduce energy costs. So it's things like insulating our homes, in all the various aspects of insulation that could be like on the outside of buildings or underfloor or in the loft. It's also looking at things like moving to heat pumps that are using less or emitting less CO2 because they're not based or totally run around fossil fuels. It's a range of actions that you can do to a property. And sometimes it's not just the renewable action, sometimes it's just making sure you've got the right windows in place. Sometimes it's repairing the outside. I mean, one of the courses I was on talks about, you know, doing that, the fabric first approach, which is make sure before you do any actions that the fabric is working properly when you're home. I could bore you to death. Well, not, I mean, actually, I could do a talk just about the things I've learned about retrofitting homes, and we probably will do that, because that is thing that will help people think about their own actions. And one of the things that is emerging is historically when people have been retrofitting their homes, one job's been done and another job's been done, and they don't link together. And actually, so many of the actions are interdependent that it causes a problem when if you aren't linking the actions together. And the government has come up with a system that can be used and is required where people are getting grants to renovate their homes or retrofit their homes. Greg, here in our audience, he did a talk for us as part of the workshops about that whole thing of retrofitting a home and the sort of things you can think of. And that is on our website already. So if you want to have a look, because he's much more technically aware than I am, I'm just learning, I'm a novice. I hope that answers your question. Also throughout the year, we've helped the Eco Group set up and get funding to create Wellingborough's first ever Eco Hub. And I'm not going to say any more about that because Jonathan's going to tell you all about that. So we've also gained other funding to help us provide a warm space this winter, which will be operating out of the Wellingborough Eco Hub. And as part of that funding, it's a winter warm fund from the National Grid that we're getting funding from. Yeah, the Community Matters Project, so we've been wrong. We're going to, as part of that, we're also going to help 35 households I'll be doing retrofit assessments on 35 households. We're going to pick people who are likely to qualify for a grant, so that we'll be able to do the first assessment and then signpost them. I've been spending quite a while trying to work out how people actually apply for these grants. It's not it's not straightforward, but I've started to have some information recently. But we want to help, you know, it's not just assessing the home, actually then help them to get funds to make the changes happen. Because one of the biggest problems is that the people that need this retrofit work the most are usually the people that got the least funds to do anything about it. So we're trying to use every avenue we can to help. I mean, it's only 35 households, but this is a good pilot for us to work out how we can help people as part of our energy advice and climate action service, and also see, you know, what we need to do. I mean, the whole challenges around sustainability are so enormous that we're really just trying to see the bits that we can do that can help people at this time in a way that, you know, helps us to work out what to do, because we don't have the answers already, but also is really productive and helpful for those people themselves. Another thing we've done is we've joined Sustainability West Midlands, because we've been finding it very hard to find a context in which we're operating. In other words, linking with councils or whatever, other than Wellingborough Town Council, linking with other agencies around us. You'd think with the emergency I mentioned at the beginning, that there would be lots and lots of structures and frameworks in which to operate and to connect, but we've been struggling to find who we link in with and how we pass people on, because things we're identifying are way above our ability to affect, but we're finding it hard to find those people above us, as it were, who can help us to affect that. So we linked with, again, I went to a solar storage exhibition at the NEC a few weeks ago, and I spoke to colleagues from Sustainability West Midlands, and although we're not in the West Midlands, we are in the East Midlands, there isn't a body like that, so in this side, so we've joined in with these, and they've got lots and lots of groups and systems already operating, and lots of knowledge that we're looking to draw on as well. It's been brilliant to connect with. It really is joining up wherever you can to get the support that you need in the community to help. Because the challenge, obviously, the Climate Action Project is trying to help Wellingborough take action. We're trying to come up with ideas, etc. And we hope that the work we're doing offers a model for other people to do that too. But it has to be within a coordinated framework. And we've also recently got another grant, which is Power to Change, and that's going to help us. This is again through Glamis Hall. It's going to help us to take these climate actions further, so into next year, well into next year, because our funding for this project was ending in a few weeks' time. So we managed to do that, and we've got a few actions that we're proposing for next year, and I'll go through that a bit later. Are there any questions? Sorry. Are there any questions or thoughts, observations? Alex?
Thank you. Have you had any whether individuals or groups from Northampton or Kettering or Corby or Daventry or anywhere across the county who inquired about how they can set up a similar organisation focused in their area?
Yeah, we've had we link with a group in West Northampton called Climate Action West Northampton. So we found each other quite quickly, but also a number of we've done a few exhibitions. There's a number of people from different parish councils getting in touch, and different community groups getting in touch. So we've had someone from Burton Latimer spoke to us about coming to speak. Jonathan and I had a meeting with a few people from Helmden, in the South Northampton, old South Northampton side. People have spoken to us from Earls Barton, from quite a few different villages and communities around. I think people, as they're starting to hear, are starting to ask questions. And we were on a call the other day with now Northamptonshire County Association of Local Councils, and a number of people have following that. So there is a real interest to learn how to do more, because you don't have to do. Well, we've been lucky to get quite a few grants, but there's some very practical things that people can do on a small scale as well as on a bigger scale. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I think we've had loads of participation, as Marion said, from different groups. We get at least sort of one inquiry a week asking us, oh, how do you do this? How do you set this up? And obviously it's not just all about Wellingborough, it's about Northamptonshire and beyond. So I think we're trying to share the knowledge. That's why we've recorded everything we've done and why we're recording today. And it's all on our website, so wcap.org.uk/video. I think we've got about 40 videos on there, so a few hours for you to look.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Kevin Johnston. I'm interested in the assessment you did of grants in getting the carbon footprint of facility, and then of course improvement on it. How much work, how much cost is involved in getting a full assessment done?
I'm not sure what to say about the actual cost, because they paid me to work on it, so there was a cost obviously involved in that, which was part of the extra money we got from December. No, actually, we did it before we got the money from December, so it's part of this project. Actually, the method is more straightforward. It's just it can be very involved, because you're literally looking at all your suppliers and you can go back 4 tiers actually. And that's what they recommend for the very big organisations that have to do this. Small organisations aren't required at the moment by law to do this, but the bigger organisations are. But because we're a small organisation, we actually went back to 1 tier. But what we've decided to do is do a revision and then go back to the next level, which would be, it's not necessarily the next level, but we go to where was the product, if it's a product that we're buying, where was it made? So we will look at 2 tiers, even though they might not be consecutive tiers. So because that feels like more of an honest appraisal of our impact. I think we'd have to talk about how much that would cost. I'm not sure I can put a price on that, but I think it's something that we can do as part of the climate action project going forward, hopefully to show people the basics of how to do that. And then if you want someone to do it on your behalf, then obviously you need to look at how that could, you know, who you recruit to do that or commission to do that.
I was just going to say, Kevin, so at the moment, I think it's the same funding that you went for, and I know that it's literally closing, I think, next week. But it confused me as to who's who and what's what, but SEMLEP, the Green Recovery and Innovation Programme. So they've got, at the moment, whether they're going to be redoing it, I don't know, but that's a £10,000 match funded. So if it costs you 20,000, you put in the 10 and they put in 10. And I'm hoping that they're going to be doing the workshops. I don't know whether that's what you went on, but to help to put together a plan and all the rest of it. So it might be that they could help provide the funding for Marion or whoever to do that sort of like work for you. But it's called GRIP. So if you look into that, I've got some contact people if you want. Yeah, but also I can't remember what this was meant for. But just generally, like all of this, like right, okay, that's amazing, but it's actually stuff that we can do. Like, how can we do this now with everybody in the whole entire world now? Like, everybody, please, because like we're interested because it's our job or our business, or because generally we are a human being on planet Earth. We want to maybe, you know, see it, yeah, save it, and that my 4-year-old might have a chance of living past 30. But it's like how can we really quickly get people who aren't necessarily, you know, the ostriches, and how do we get them, and can we formulate a massive plan like immediately? Please, thank you very much.
There actually is a massive plan already out there. And I'm going to address the elephant in the room very quickly, very shortly, hopefully without being political. The elephant in the room is cost. You may remember. Right, the elephant in the room is the cost. It is a sum which is completely unimaginable. You're talking about trillions of pounds just to recompense the countries which are already suffering of climate change for a problem they did not create. And COP26, numerous countries around the world promised to donate millions and millions of pounds. Promises are easy. Very little of that money has actually been put into the fund which was created. They have now set up COP27. Yeah, we are now going to do it. And it is being hailed as the big outcome of COP27. So why should we believe COP27 when they didn't deliver on COP26? So we're not here to ask questions, we're going to try and put forward solutions. And someone has put forward, right, let's look at this money and where can it come from? Because it is, like I said, it's like a space project. If every energy company in the world, and let's face it, they're the ones who caused this problem by following energy policies which are not friendly to the planet, donated 34 days of their annual profits, that would be enough to cover all the money which has been promised so far. So the people you need to talk to, not politicians, they are the energy providers. Even they themselves are saying, we've got so much money, we don't know what to do with it. We're going to invest for the future. Well, if they don't pay for the present, there ain't no future. 2025 is 2 years away. And, you know, the idea that we can do things individually is great, but we need to move mountains. And the only people who can do that are the people with the money. I ain't got it, and you ain't got it. And the government wants austerity. I'm going to leave it there. I could go on all day with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for both questions. I'll do yours first, Eric, if that's okay. I get all of the things that you've said, and I think, well, I can't speak for everyone in the room because I'm not everyone in the room, but you know, I personally feel there's so much above us and around us that isn't right, and that does need resolving. My ability to influence that is not so high, but I get exactly what you're saying, and also the injustice within it. And I could get very angry about it myself, and I do. But I think this is what can I do, and what can we do as a community, and how can we collaborate together and actually wave that wand and make miracles happen, because that is what we need, miracles to happen now. And the miracle is us, is the importance of that we put on our own lives and the lives of our children and the lives of our grandchildren. I mean, I often say to Karen, you know, I mean, we don't have children, but you know, it still feels important to me. I don't understand why any parent or any grandparent is not motivated to act on this need, because where do we live if we don't live on the earth? You know, so that's my own personal motivation with this. But I actually also think that we are the solution as well as the problem, and that we can, if we have, we can take action ourselves. The more we're able to collaborate, cooperate, come together as communities, we can gain lots of benefit from the community solutions that we can develop. We need each other with this solution, not just for this need, for every need we need each other. And this is another reason why we need to come together as people and cooperate, collaborate. And one of the problems that we found in the report later is the structures to enable us to act. I mean, I've worked in and around local government most of my life, nearby or whatever. And I'm shocked at the lack of framework to enable the transition that we need. It's very straightforward. We need to transition from living one way to changing and completely living in a completely different way, which doesn't destroy other people and doesn't destroy the planet or other species. Now, I'm not saying that's easy, but we need the plan. And what we're trying to do is, we've done some actions. What we'd also like to do is have coming back to Kerry's point, is to bring people together, have a community forum where we're bringing people, organisations, local authorities, everyone together, because we've all got skin in the game, to use the phrase. This is important for all of us, you know. This in a way shouldn't be about others leaving, it's about all of us leaving when we're ready to act. But some people coming to that ready to act a bit later. So I think we can take action. I do, even when seeing stuff for myself, and it is heart blows every time, but still have to come back and say, we can make a difference. We can make a change. I can make a difference. And the more we do this, this is actually showing what people can do. And that's what we're trying to build on, is what people can do. And if somebody's doing something, then other people think, well, I can do that as well. So what we're trying to create is route maps, blueprints, whatever, to action. And this is a challenge that many of us have put in the too difficult to deal with pile for 30 years. You know, and some things have happened and some things have progressed us all, but we have got to do it now. But the challenge is, we need a route to that. Sorry, I'm evangelizing again. But we need a route, and what we're trying to do is create some practical steps that help individuals, families, and businesses, and most importantly, for all of us to realise that we're connected. You know, business sector is not separate from the community sector, because all of us need jobs, work, and things to do. So, you know, the more we see how we connect together and how we can help each other, the more this comes much more doable, at least in our part, you know. Oh, I have to carry on because we've got lots of people who want to share. Yes, and it's 11 o'clock. But it was about having a conversation, wasn't it? So thank you all for your questions. I'm going to carry on. There's what we've learned so far. I'll just do this, and then, yeah, because this is really important bit, really, isn't it? So what we've learned so far from all the work we've done, lots of concern from people, a lot of confusion about how to act. That was one of the biggest messages from the climate conversations at the beginning of the year. And unfortunately, it's continued. The other things that we've done have carried on. That message keeps coming up. What do we do? How do we act? Where do we go to get help? So, and that's echoed in the next point about you know, what actions can we take, and who and within the context, you know, what actions can we take and where can we go to find out about those actions? If you're thinking about retrofitting homes, this is a really big question, and I've wandered around the last few months trying to find answers, and it hasn't been straightforward. The government's CO2 reduction plans have been hard to see how they land locally, you know, and it's taken a while to actually see what they were, but now I see clearer after many months. And when we did the talks back in March, I wasn't really so clear, but now a lot clearer. But I just don't see how they're landing in our communities, you know, and where the framework, where the leadership is locally or regionally, you know. I think we have a challenge in our county that the framework of leadership isn't there in the way any of us would like. But you can go to other communities and there is a framework. So, you know, it's not like there's nothing across the country. In quite a few communities in other parts of the country, there are structures. We have got community forum, people are working together. Senior people across senior big organisations, the leadership organisations are collaborating and starting to create. They're seeding organisations like this in communities. We're doing it the way around, but that is happening. So there is a framework, so we can learn across the country as well as across the world. We've got some insight from organisations taking action in New Zealand. So, you know, this is the thing, we can use those ideas. Good examples of it, so I've said that bit. Business also wants to act, and it needs support to understand the challenge. Many businesses in this country, I can't remember the percent, I think like 99 businesses, or 99% of businesses are small or medium-sized businesses. And, you know, if you've ever run a business, as some of us in the room have, you know that most of the time you're trying to do your work, aren't you? You're trying to also look around to see the next opportunity, the context that you're in. But it takes a lot of work just to do your work. And actually, I think that's an experience for many people as employees as well. You know, most of us are just trying to get food on the table, roof over our heads, keep the house warm, keep our families fed, as well as, you know, trying to live meaningful lives. So it is, businesses need support to do this, but also businesses can be the energy, they can be the engine to enable and bring about the transition. So that I'm delighted that we're getting more positive responses from people in the business sector who want to understand what actions they can take and then start to see how they can be part of the new transitioned community that we need to get to. So that's been some really heartening things we've heard on our journey, specifically around sort of retrofitting housing organisations. My mind's been in all this because we do all these courses. So people want to act but don't know where to go to get good neutral advice. Historically, people have been, if they're thinking about solar panels or heat pumps or whatever, or even insulation, then we haven't got neutral agencies that are giving what's the right thing for me before you go to speak to a supplier, you know. But we're actually starting to, some of that is starting to emerge now. But there does need something like this, the service that we're planning. We're only planning it because it isn't there. That clarity that people just isn't there. Grant funding information. So for those people that haven't got the funds to retrofit their home, the grant system, honestly, I've been connected to grant systems and funding families and stuff before. It's one of the most complicated things I've ever seen. And also how it's operated, because a lot of it is coming through the energy companies. Derek mentioned about the energy companies. Clearly, there's more they can do. But that funding is going to come from the energy companies, but it is confusing how people access that and how organisations that might support. So there might be installers, how they take part in the process too. I'm still trying to understand that bit. People are unclear what might work for them and where within their home or their business, you know, what action might work. Again, that comes to the need for good advice. And also skills support. So we've got a massive skills gap now to make this, if you're just thinking about the transitions to do with housing and business premises and community premises, it's enormous. But the skills shortage is there relevant. And I'd say to any college, any university, any school system, this is the land you need to pitch your tent in and build from, because this is where food or whatever. There's a new system that came out a few years ago the past 2035. That's a route for holistic retrofitting of homes. It's only required to be followed at the moment where government grants or the energy grants are being accessed. But it offers a great method that people who have got money can use to retrofit their home as well. But they need advice about how to make that happen. And alongside that, business owners need support to do exactly the same for their premises. Social housing, so there's a big programme of social housing upgrading going on at the moment, again, at the behest of government to enable the decarbonisation that we're after. So there's a fund called the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, and various local authorities have been applying into that fund, and as have housing associations and a number of. So in the social housing sector, they're required to bring all properties. So that people understand the EPC system, A to G. A is the worst. Sorry, G is the worst, A is the best. And they're trying to bring, the government strategy is trying to bring all properties up to at least, well, a D level really. So they've set targets on social housing providers that by 2030 they need to achieve a grade D on all their properties, all their properties basically. For business, I think it's 2035 and it's grade B for all buildings. So, you know, there are things happening, most of which most of us generally don't actually are aware of. But as I said, there's a big shortage of professionals for this process. To do those proper processes, you've got all these different players that need to be involved. You need retrofit assessors, coordinators. The coordinators have got a great job because they will help make sure that the thing is done holistically. You need retrofit designers and installers, and many businesses that are thinking in that sector that perhaps haven't moved into renewables yet are thinking, well, how do we move to this? And they need support to do that as well. Yeah, I think so many businesses are not clear how to get into this sector and just said that one. And most of all, we need a sense of where's the plan. You know, I know that local authorities, the two main local authorities in our area, are aware of this, but we don't know they're doing this. Most people, I think the other opportunity is when you've got social housing providers, so housing associations in the area, and I'm not sure about West Northampton Council, but definitely North Northampton Council has housing stock. So they're doing retrofit work. Could they not play a role in leading in private sector retrofit work as well? Could they not work together with us to enable more? The most housing that needs to transition is private housing. So we need to look at what routes are there to coordinate and collaborate through there. Are there any questions on that bit? On those things that we've learned?
Retrofit is, of course, a way of improving the current housing stock. Looking at the total costs and the way it's really accelerated, is there a good argument for just removing and rebuilding a number of properties? Because once you factor in the costs we're paying per year, you cover 20 years of those costs for fuel. I would expect that a lot of housing stock really in a proper long-term plan should be removed. Is that the case from what you've seen? Should be removed and rebuilt.
To be honest, I don't know that I can answer that question. I think, but imagine, you know, see how slow the housing building process in this country is. Imagine, you know, basically we need to get our act together to start to transition properties, but to do it in a way that actually works. One of the big issues that's come up on some of the retrofit work that's already been done is that some of the work is not working properly for the houses it's been fitted to. You know, because one of the big things I've learned in the last few weeks is the actions that have been taken on older buildings are not necessarily going to be sustainable because they I don't know what to say, Kevin, to that question, because I think, you know, I don't think we can do that. I think the chaos that causes to sort of try to, you know, you're talking about what, 70–80% of our properties are older buildings, and quite a large proportion of those are older beyond 1920, you know, prior to 1920. Imagine that. I mean, I've worked in housing in local government. When you do decanting, you know, you've got one block of housing to address and not retrofit. The disturbance is enormous. So knocking down loads of houses and doing it like that.
Just goes on to the one.
Yes. But I mean, the point is though, we don't have the time to do that. But then equally, it's taken a long time, and I get it. It's been taken a long time to not do the retrofits we need to do as well. So, you know, I'm not sure what to say, except we need to do as much as we can as quickly as we can. I think, you know, we saw under COVID that when everybody was at the game, things changed vastly and very quickly. You know, when there's will and when it's coordinated, even though it wasn't always very coordinated, but the point was that we still had enormous changes, and you know, so I think once people are clear and there's a method, the thing is, but also I think government and local authorities think that they're the ones that have to make everything happen, and that's not the case necessarily. If they create the frameworks, people can take action themselves, but if we don't understand the frameworks, it's hard for us to act. In fact, if you think about most of the actions that happened about retrofit buildings and homes over the last 20 or 30 years have come from individuals or come from individual businesses. So actually, you put the framework and set people free and make the money available. Derek said earlier about the cost of all this. The cost of not doing it is unimaginable. So, and actually, the more we start to do stuff, and it all doesn't have to come from government coffers, it's about, you know, a few years ago when the austerity started, people said, well, you know, we just haven't got the money. But actually, across all of us, we have money. You know, it's not all just about what's in the government's coffers, it's about what's in all of our coffers. And equally, we've all got to get to a point that this is the most important thing that we need to do across all different aspects of our lives. So that helps. I'm going to have to carry on because my colleagues here are not going to get to speak with them.
Sorry, yeah, I think the answer to your question is no, basically, because like you've got a lot of old housing. Britain's got the oldest housing stock in Europe by a long way, mainly thanks to the excellent work that the Victorians did. But Victorian houses were meant to act differently to what the standards that we're trying to get to now. They're all built free, basically. They didn't. They were obviously codified and all the rest of it. But just imagine that you're knocking all these houses down, you're using all those new materials. It's creating a bigger issue by doing that rather than trying to make what you've got better. So it's a bit like buying a new car. It's years and years and years into its life before it's sort of neutral with keeping your own car, even though it was less efficient.
Embodied energy, that's the word, embodied energy. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I'm going to move on. So, I think I've spoken enough now. We're way over time. A few words about Wellingborough Town Council's approach and our.
Hi, I'm Sally. I'm the town clerk for Wellingborough Town Council. I'm going to give you a short insight to the town council, the work it's doing in the community, and what we're doing to combat climate change. Thank you very much. Okay, so just a bit about us. The Wellingborough Town Council is a completely new authority. It started in April 2021, following the abolishment of the former Borough Council and the County Council. So in May 2021, we had elections, and we had the election of 23 councillors, which you can see around the edge of the screen there. And all our councillors are volunteers, they're not paid for their services. We've got 23 volunteers out in the community, listening to your views. And then we're a small team. So the town council is headed up by myself. I'm the only full-time employee for the council as a town clerk. Underneath me on the picture over there is Joanne, who's a deputy. She's part-time and she deals with all planning applications and committees. And underneath her is Emma. Emma is our project officer and does a lot of our events out in the community. You'll see us all out and about in the area. We're not affiliated to any other organisation. We're not affiliated to North Northamptonshire Council or West Council or any other council. We're a completely standalone authority.
So what we recognised very early on as a council is that no one individual can combat climate change alone. It is a collective change that we're all trying to do, and we're really keen to work with different organisations to make the change for Wellingborough. A little bit about our core principles we're established with. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm paperless. The council established on a principle that they wanted to be a net zero print any papers for our council meetings, any agendas, any minutes, any hundreds of the papers and reports that we do. We share them all electronically, and they're all available electronically on our website as well. We also, if you come to our council meetings, there's no cups on the table for any drinks. Everyone's encouraged to bring their own drink in a recyclable bottle. So it's not just with me. We do actually want people to reuse their own equipment. So we also have a policy where all the employees work from home. It helps to reduce travel, so we're not on the road driving our cars everywhere to different meetings. We are all working from home, and many of our meetings are held online, and well, we need to be held with different organisations as well, so that reduces our carbon footprint. And last of all, if we attend events, which we do nationally, I do as a town clerk, my role is to work with other organisations and councils across the country. And therefore, when I go to events, my gosh, yeah, not only do I get really good company from the other town clerks, but we also help to reduce our carbon footprint. So as a council, say we want to be part of the solution, not the problem. And what we have already established as a council very early on is that we've got some fantastic community organisations which have already done a huge amount of work to combat climate change. And what we want to do as council is not reinvent the wheel, start something completely different, an awful lot of resource and time, is actually what to work with those organisations. So as a council, we agreed in January to start these climate change conversations to find out what's already been done in the community, what other regional and national organisations are doing to combat climate change, and how we can work together and get some feedback on these sessions to create a plan. And now Glamis Hall, we're all, as we've already heard, we're also thinking the same thing, so we collaborated rather than doing two separate conversations. And that's really what we're about as a council, is working together. So from these conversations, the feedback was clear. We could categorise them into different sectors. So we looked at transport was one of the topics which come out, food was a topic, environment, and so we could categorise them. We had a discussion with the core organisations which were part of the climate change conversations to discuss what these issues were, different ideas of how we could work together. And it became very clear that we've got lots of different organisations doing work on their community buildings and trying to voice the changes that people can make as individuals in the community. There's no one lead organisation. So the town council have agreed to be that lead organisation for Wellingborough to be a voice for our community. And what we want to do is collaborate with them. And so we're establishing a core group, which involves the town council for lots of organisations in our community, to voice and create a plan for our community on climate change. Also, one of the things we established as well is that there's lots of events going on in Wellingborough. And these events are free, but there's ways that we can collaborate together to have different stands and exhibits to support climate change and voice the word at every opportunity. In terms of partnership working, we established that the core groups are the government. They have national planning policies, national policies which affect climate change. And as a town council, we can be a voice for our community to the government, and also to North Northamptonshire Council, which create policies for our area. So it's working with them. The businesses we've already talked about briefly, but the businesses have a lot of challenges about how they can combat climate change and want to work with us. And we're very fortunate we have a Wellingborough Eco Group chamber, and so we've been working with them, holding networking conversations with them and other businesses. It's free. People can attend our networking events that town council hold twice a year and discuss any items of concern, including climate change. And then we've got community organisations which we talked about collaborating with and finding out what work they're already doing and supporting that, because that's really important to us. And all this, all the work which is done by voicing people's opinions, working with businesses, looking at what they're supplying locally, all supports the individuals who live and work within Wellingborough. As a town council, we also want to showcase what is available locally. Marion touched briefly on, travel and sustainability and getting things locally rather than, buying things from China, etc. So we created 2 apps. So one of the apps is a town council app. That app focuses on the events which are available locally, so people don't have to travel outside the area. They can come and enjoy not only the town council events, but we've got community events on there, which pops up as a free app to download, available on Android and iOS. That big app also provides a platform for local businesses to register their business. So we've gone around to businesses in the town to encourage them to put their details on the app, where they can put their opening hours and the services they provide, and then the community can download that and have a look of what they provide locally. And the other app we've created is a trail app. So there was lots of historical walks in Wellingborough, but we've added those and a new app, new walking, which is for that's around the town centre, and it focuses on the historical buildings within the town. So it pops up with a little notification to say you're outside behind hotel. Here's all the historical information about this building. But not only does it showcase all the fabulous historical information in our town, but it supplies a free walk locally. So again, you don't need to travel outside the area to learn about history and to enjoy the local environment. And that's really important. And it's free. Both apps are free. So events was one of the things that we discussed at our feedback meeting, was how we could work together to showcase climate change at every opportunity, because we've identified that it's every single individual who needs to make a change to combat climate change. And one of the really simple things which can be done is to sow wildflowers in your garden. And so just a little fact I put on the screen there is that if you supplied 1 acre of wildflowers in your meadow, that supports 96,000 bees, honeybees. So they're a great pollinator, great for your gardens, but also they help with the loss of nutrients from the ground. So as the water comes down, not wash all those nutrients away. Wildflowers have a really complex root system which hold in those nutrients. Not only are they encouraging wild insects and bees, but you're also encouraging to support your soil as well. So what we've done is we worked with Wellingborough Climate Action Group to hold a stand at our event in the town, which was in the beach, which was there for the whole of August. And for one day, we held a visit the stall where every individual who visited the stall got a free pack of wildflowers to sow in their garden. Very simple but an effective way of supporting our climate. Another event that we attended was here. We done the Victoria Centre done a Wild event, and the town council held a stall, and our stall was focused on recycling materials. So again, very simple, was that if you've got any t-shirts left lying around in your home, you can recycle them into a tote bag. So you can go and use them for your shopping. And not only are you recycling your old t-shirt, but you don't need to go and use a single-use plastic bag or another bag from the supermarket or a supplier. Also, we use those plant pots that everyone gets when they've been to the shop and bought lots of plants over the summertime. You get lots of these little tiny pots which can't be recycled. And so what we're trying to do is recycle them into bug hotels. So you're using lots of bamboo, which is sustainable, and foraging, which you can do in your garden. You can create a nice home for a bug. And that's what our store was focused on. You can see Joanne with our councillor there as well. So it's an opportunity for our councillors to go out in the community and talk to you about things that we can do to combat climate change together. So you might have heard about the Queen's Green Canopy, which is a huge project as part of Queen Elizabeth's second Platinum Jubilee. We wanted to be a part of that scheme to replant trees in our communities. As a town council, we don't own any land. in Wellingborough. But we can work with other authorities. So we've worked with Northamptonshire Council to plant some trees on Castle Fields Park, which is taking place on the 30th, next Wednesday. Everyone's welcome to come along. And we're planting 25 trees to increase the coppice there. And it's just a great opportunity to increase as many trees in our community as possible. And I've got some few facts on my next slide about how important trees are. So in Europe, the average country has 35% of forest, whereas in the UK we've only got 13%. So just planting a tree makes a huge difference to how our planet can combat climate change, because each tree, when during its photosynthesis process, absorbs carbon, it stores it, it doesn't release it back into the air, and so that's gone. So if more trees you can plant, the slower the rate of climate change. They also again have a great root network system, which can again help with the flooding, prevention of flooding and loss of nutrients. So they are a fantastic addition to our communities. So everyone might have heard of the Big Spring Cleanup. It's a national event. The town council were involved in this project last year. We worked with the Wellingborough to increase the amount of litter off our streets, and Northamptonshire Council supported us with that project, removing the waste for us and recycling it. And we provided £1,263 of litter pickers for this event, and also we provided a leaf blower machine to get rid of those cigarette butts that we see around the town. And it worked very well last year, or this year, in March this year, and we're going to be repeating that as one of our annual projects that we're doing as Town Council. We also provide grants. So the council provides £15,000 worth of grants in our community for projects. This year we've awarded grants to the Wellingborough Climate Action Project for the Eco Hub, which they've started. And we've also provided funding to the Wellingborough. We've got £1,000 to them, and they're going to be providing litter pickers to every single business in the town, so that their clients who come into their shops, whether it's coffee shop, etc., they get a reward for going to use their litter pickers to go and remove the litter around the town, whether that's a cup of coffee or another incentive. A great community project and ways we can collaborate. And we've also funded money towards a boiler for the St Mark's Church, which improves their energy efficiency. And one of the really important things we want to do is to recognise the important work that our people in our community do. There's so many volunteers who dedicate their time, not only to climate change, but other things within our community. And what we want to do as a town council is to recognise them and reward them for their hard work. So we have a community awards scheme which was launched this year, and we've got 6 categories as part of that award, and one of them is environmental champion. If you know somebody in your community who's working hard to showcase the important things that we can do to combat climate change, please nominate them for our environmental award. All the nominations need to be in December, ready for it to be considered at the January council meeting. Mid-December, don't know the date on my hand, but it's mid-December. So our important message is that we want to work together to combat climate change. So some of the things we can do are very simple, which I've shown you today, but other things that are, as Marion has touched on, are actually such a huge project to be doing alone. And if we do it together, we can make a huge difference. So I've given you a brief insight into town council and work that we do. We've just launched our corporate plan, and I'll plug it at any possible opportunity. You can find a bit more about what the town council are doing and give us your feedback on the plan that we're doing with the council. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Sally?
So we've had obviously conversations about social housing and stuff
brought up, things like transport. So obviously it's great things that you're doing in terms of the apps and the wildflowers and the green canopy. What are your plans for sort of longer term, larger projects for Wellingborough?
So as a town council, we are in our infancy. And so what we were trying to do is establish this core group where we can work together. We don't control housing, that's all done by Northamptonshire Council. We don't own any assets ourselves. So actually our important job is to get the message out to the community and to pull the organisations together so we have a greater voice. And that's what we're trying to do as this core group, is to get a plan together for Wellingborough.
Right, it's great to hear what you're doing. You want to put together a plan for residents, etc. Does your plan involve going into schools? Or does there you find in which they just as their future is?
That's a great suggestion, because you're right, the young people actually, in some ways, have a greater understanding of the impacts of climate change and of the future. They want to make a difference. So it's something we can bear in mind with the project. The plan hasn't been established yet. That's one thing that we're doing by establishing a core group. I want to take on board. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I've got it now. You're not getting it on me. Try wrestling me, but there we go. I suppose linking into the Alex's and Derek's question. So who's responsible for the school thing? And there's just something that fired off in my brain, but obviously there's a lot of people here in this room who are interested and passionate, who are more knowledgeable than some of us. But I'd be so up for going into schools and just being like, right, okay, well, this is something that happens, and these are the ways that you can help. For instance, I'm not somebody who's qualified. I just had a real bee in my bonnet and postnatal depression, so I was obsessed about saving the planet. So I'd love to do anything like that, like going into schools with little people are awesome. And also, like, the two things for me that are really important: giving people the opportunity to be able to charge electric cars if they've got them. The country really, but in the county. And something that I keep going on about with a certain councillor and a keep hearing playing about food waste. The government have just given them an extra 2 years to do something about food waste, but that's something that really contributes to methane and greenhouse gases, which obviously we need to really reduce. Is it actually on track for the deadline, or is there any hope that it's going to be before then, or if you've got any of that?
I love that you volunteered to go into the schools. Thank you. I think this is what it's all about, really, for us as a council, is that there's all these people in the community who are really passionate and are willing to give their time, like you said, go into the schools. Why aren't we utilising that? Mary said, there's no one organisation that it's not going to, the councils can't make the change alone. And what we need is yourselves and other people, such as Jonathan and Mary, who have given their time to make this change in the community. So thank you. I'm definitely going to store that one in my brain, ready for one to use. With regards to food waste, there's some great opportunities again in our community, and Jonathan does one in Glamis Hall with the reusing food. We've got Mary as well, who does her food schemes as well. We've given money as a council to her to provide some fridges so we can get that food, which otherwise would be wasted by local supermarkets, out into people in the community who really need it. So those projects are fantastic. I don't know about the figures for whether we're on target. That's something that the town council hasn't been involved with in to date, but something again, it's really important that we can do. It not only feeds people in the community who really need to be fed, but reuses that food. And I know Jonathan is very passionate about the food shouldn't be wasted in the first place, save production, but I won't go into that one. But it's just one of the things that we can do together as a community to combat these things. So some of them are very, very small. If we do it as collectively as a group, and that's really what's important. It's that we can all make a very small change to make a big difference to our planet.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now because there's a few more speakers. Thanks very much for your time, Sally. That's brilliant. Thank you. I'd like to invite Jonathan Hornick now to talk about the Wellingborough Eco Group. Just one slight correction, you mentioning, sorry, Jonathan, just one slight correction about funding. I think the Town Council's funded the Wellingborough Eco Group, not the Wellingborough Climate Action Project. Still, I think they are different.
I did notice in that last presentation that all the stuff that Wellingborough Eco Group were doing was accredited to the Climate Action Project. So thank you very much for that. But never mind. Are we going to go full screen this time? There you go. So welcome to, well, if you like, Manuel, I'm easy. Yeah, welcome to our environmentally friendly group in Wellingborough. This is a very short presentation. There's a few slides. Because I'm running out of time. Marion never leaves me out of time to do anything. The idea of the group is, I personally spent a long time speaking a long time campaigning, about 15 years, for the Green Party, standing nationally for about 4 times, telling councils and different people this is what you do. And so after about 15 months, within 20 years of doing this, it's time to do something. Extinction Rebellion came along, so I thought, great, okay, I'll go out on a few marches, and we organised a really big march through the town, which, funnily enough, the Borough Council at the time did take notice of, which was fantastic. But born out of that came Wellingborough Eco Group, because there was still stuff that basically wasn't being done. So we thought, well, we can fix these things. We can, a handful of volunteers, which have snowballed into quite a few volunteers now, which is good. We were set up to improve our environment, to reduce recycle items that otherwise would just end up in the bin, and to help people reduce their carbon footprint, which is where the Wellingborough Climate Action Project, of course, comes in. Click. Thank you. And there you go. There's some of our litter pickers. On the last Saturday of every month, we have a big litter pick. We are supported by one of our groups, the Wellingborough. And we go to various places. Last time, because we had a One World event here in Victoria Centre, funny enough, the litter pick was in the around the Victoria Ward. On Saturday, we're litter picking Castle Fields because the lovely Town Council are planting our trees in Castle Fields. And we thought we'd tidy up first. So they take place 10 till 12. Do join in. As you can see, this time last year, it was a bit cold, but we did litter pick a few streets in that direction and quite a lot. We also host lots of activities like hair cafes, green drinks, swap shops, food sharers, several welly wombles, and lots of clubs. Next slide. Okay, and it's all about growing together. Now, obviously, you'll probably notice the theme where I'm trying to sort of play on words a little bit, but this shows our community allotment, which was the worst plot on neighbourhood allotments, which was on Finding Road. It had half of a pub that was on Queensway buried under it. So there's lots of bricks. It was quite good actually, because I've managed to do a nice base for the gazebo, or we have, sorry, park edges, but a lot of work during the first year of setting up, turned it from basically a barren land like these guys here are sort of working on, to something that looks really quite special. And you've also got a tree nursery up there as well, funnily enough, which is where your 25 trees, I've given you 31, but we will still Next slide. Okay, here's the lovely Emma holding up a sign about our Eco Hub. Marion's already introduced this, but we're dead excited about the Eco Hub because it gives us the opportunity to do more stuff. We've been supported by a lot of organisations. I'm going to talk about partners later, but our new projects include Eco Crafters, so a bit like the Town Council were doing at the One World event, making things out of other things that can prolong their life, so they can go in the bin. An eco club for kids. There's a lot of kids that for one reason or other aren't at school, so we've given them a place to spend an afternoon and try and socialise. We've redone new repair cafes. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it's where we host our swap shop and food challenge too. So really excited. Over 1st of September, which funnily enough was our 3-year-old first. It was 3 years before that we started. Next slide, please. And what do? We share with everybody. So we were talking about sort of not wasting food. Well, we do everything that we possibly can with partners in the town via our project called Food Sharers, which essentially is us, but it's also other people. It's like co-op, give us all their waste on a Monday night. It's redeemed funds. They have a swap over on a Monday night. They go from one place, Tuesday afternoon. I'll get my words out in a second. So we take all of the food that would either end up in the bin or potentially going to animals in need, but we try and give it to local both. We also have our swap shop, so you can see it's quite a busy event, swap shop for the food sharers. This was taken about 2 weeks ago, where anybody can bring anything they like in as long as it's legal and swap it for anything they like. So we've got a stack of clothes at the moment, and we've also got a rail which is giving its free coats from the Live team, which is a part of Northampton. Next slide. Okay, and as well as doing all that to save stuff and going from that, but we've got some other things that we do. We've relaunched our repair cafe again on the 3-year birthday of that, because that's been going for 3 years. This is our second one. It's the third one coming up on the second Saturday of December. And the idea is basically we try and stop things from going in the bin. So if they can be fixed, we'll have a go fix. Some things can't be fixed. A lot of things these days, unfortunately, aren't meant to be fixed. That's a different issue. But where we can, we will. And people are really upset. They've had to for a long time that they can't fix. We'll do our best to fix the problem. Next slide. We partnered with the Centre for Sustainable Energy to set up something called Energy Savers. It's really important. It's something that we've used quite a lot on the Wellingborough Climate Action Project with our first 4 workshops. But we've built a website with loads of information that anybody can go and have a look at, tips and advice on how to save energy and what to do. We're also looking at doing evening workshops in our new Eco Hub, because we've just set it up as a hybrid space. So we've got presentations and Zoom. All very exciting. Next slide. There we go. There's some more tidy uppers. In fact, I think this one here is from the same picture as before, and there's Freddie, Chief Womble, showing off a couple of new recruits. And there's yours truly up the top there, looking delightfully gorgeous as always. So I told you about that already. Next slide, please. Okay, and as well as doing, obviously the group is very much a doing group. We do like to have a drink and support local businesses too. So the pubs, about 3 years ago, funnily enough, were suffering. We decided to restart something called Green Drinks, which is something that's been going on for about 10 years in an old Wellingborough pub. Funnily enough, it's my local, but don't tell anybody. And the aim was to just create a space where anybody who cares about the environment can have a chat. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the environment, it's just like-minded people in the same space. And actually, there's a few people here that think so. We also host lots of fair trade cafes. I think they're now called happy cafes. We'll talk about that in a minute. So everyone is welcome, as with everything that we do. Next slide. Okay, this is the slide. I might not mention Wellingborough Champions for obvious reasons. Working together. So one of our big partners has been Glamis Hall. I think without Glamis Hall, we'd probably be litter picking and doing a few bits here and there. They've massively supported us over the last 3 years to facilitate a lot of the things that we do, which is why we've tried to reciprocate on that and set up our Eco Hub up there and help them with the Wellingborough Climate Project with the stuff we found out, and also help them with some of the organisation skills and stuff that we've actually sort of gained over the years. We also work with Great Well Homes. You can see at the top picture up there, that's the Great Well Homes meeting at our Happy Cafe. We had over about 26 people come in and talk to Great Well Homes about their Warm Homes initiative, which includes giving them basic items to sort of save a bit of energy, but also to go and do, like Marion was talking about at the Wellingborough Climate Action Project, about doing assessments on their homes. We also work with the Town Council. They've brought us quite a few bits. I haven't been paid yet, but we'll talk about that. We work with the co-op, because I'm also the co-op member pioneer for the area, but that's good because there's a bit of a side door in. Redeem funds, support to the food charities, as I've said already. Many flavours of Wellingborough as a new CIC. We're trying to do some arty things with them, including our Happy Poems workshops. Next one is a week on Tuesday, I believe. And also Northants Veggies and Vegans, which, yes, I'm one of the people that runs that too. We're doing winter warms with those on the first Sunday of every month. And that is also going to be part of one of our new projects that we're doing with Glamis Hall. So I'm taking you right back to the top again. As Marion touched on this earlier about the winter warm spaces, we're doing a winter warm project that is being led by Glamis Hall. Marion's done an awful lot of work on it, so we thank her for that. We're opening up the hub for 4 days a week. 3 of those days are going to be standard days, so they'll be on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 to 2. And we're calling those winter warm spaces. We're doing free food, we're doing free drinks, we're doing free parties. Anybody can come. It's just a place that's open to everybody. And yes, we'll keep the door codes and turn the heating on. Sometimes we get a bit colder, if you're looking at me like that. And then on the weekend, we're doing our winter warms. So again, these could be 2 hours, they could be 4 hours. They're all going to be themes. The next one is a veggie vegan one because it was already planned. But moving forward, believe it or not, I'm loads of stuff in the car. A few Christmas parties. Don't all get excited too much. So there you go. There's lots of stuff planned. Next slide. Okay, and as well as doing that, in fact, we've got a few stars of videos sitting in the audience. I can see one that's joined in quite a lot. We do a eco map. So the idea is that it's not all about us. It's about everything that's going on in the town. So you can go to our website, /it with map, just click on map on the links, Wellingborough Eco Group, map. You're never going to remember that. And there's a map, so you can see all the locations, and then there's a blog on everybody. And then as part of what we do every December, starts next Thursday, we do an advent calendar. So I get the opportunity to go and stick my phone, my camera in spaces, and they get the opportunity to tell us all about the stuff. So Kerry, who we've heard from a couple of times, has started twice. I've just booked her for a third time, so that's exciting. I do invite anybody and any organisation to get in contact with me. I'm sure that Kevin would jump at the chance to tell me all about the Victoria Centre. It's all about the community and all about improving the environment. So as long as you've got one of those 2 caps on, preferably both, we'd love to include you in our event. Next slide. And there you go. Of course, it's all about joining in. So the group's open to everybody. You can see some of my posters, or our posters, sorry, it's not all about I do. You can see the food sharers, swap shop and repair cafe, that you can see a lot of them there. It's open to everybody. It aims to work with local councils, business, community organisations. Join us to support what we do everything at a local level in a friendly way. Next week. Okay. And there you go, there's the website for you. A few more posters, including one of our newer projects, Happy Cafe, which is where, if you like, the warm room sort of come from. So Happy Cafe will still be there 12 till 2 every Thursday. We're starting that as a hybrid event, so you can actually join us on Zoom if you're stuck at home. So we'll give anybody the link for that if they want to join in. We've got various groups on Facebook. The big one's got over 1,300 people on it in the town, but there's also a swap shop group. There's a food sharers group. There's a repair cafe group. Obviously, there's a Wellingborough group. There's even one for the community allotment. So if you're not interested in everything, you can join a particular group and then share with you, and you can share with us. That's what it's all about. Also on Nextdoor, Instagram, and Twitter, not TikTok, as the conversation is up here about. Next slide, please. There we go. You'd be glad to know. We can stop talking. So thank you very much for listening. Here's some of our regulars giving us a wave. There's very redeemed funds in the middle there too. And thank you very much.
Are there any quick questions for John? Next green drink.
Green Drinks is the first Tuesday of every month, so it's going to be a week on Tuesday. Is it? Happy birthday? No, I think you notice when you're down to me again. Always. Has anybody got any more questions? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Marion. Hello, everyone. Thanks for inviting me along to your meeting. Obviously, Marion and Jonathan, and I've really only recently learned about the Wellingborough Climate Action Project. So it was just for a chance meeting, wasn't it? At Solar Storage Live. So what I'm going to do today is to tell you a little bit about how I ended up here, a little bit about myself and why I'm invested in your group, and also about my business, which can help you deliver on your own projects or business projects with regard to action taken and action about climate change. Personally, today, it's great to be here with a lot of like-minded people. I've learned that there's quite a lot of passionate people in Wellingborough, and also I'm very, very encouraged by the fact that Womble's still on the map, and that the calendar still exists in some regard somewhere in an allotment. So that's all good fun. So yeah, effectively, I've been involved personally in energy saving projects for over 15 years now. It's been a passion of mine since my school days. So you'll be pleased to know that I was dragged up in Shelley Road as part of the London Overspill project. So I moved up here in '67. I've been in Kettering for the last 20 odd years, not escaping, I have to say. But I'm very invested when a lot of our friends and family are still here. And it was my time at Weaver School that I first became aware of this problem. So I'm going back, you can probably guess I'm a bit older than most of you. 45 years ago, I sat in a class at Weavers and was told all about, why we need to save our planet. And it's clear that we all recognise the fact that so little has happened in that time. Then it was all about, deodorant and perspirant, and that was it, at the end of the day. But I thank them for putting that on the map for me. So that kind of school involvement can breed this kind of passion. And it is a passion of mine. We've recently been involved through Solar Storage Live with helping and advising Glamis Hall. So we're looking at their expansion. And my business is about sustainability and providing sustainability products, renewable products to both end users and businesses, but through installers. And it's important to note that although we are in business to make money, Evanston Electrical are the biggest UK electrical wholesaler and have this UK green sector division running 7 years, specialising in renewables. We are royal warrant holders, so we're absolutely invested. A British company, been around for over 150 years. Which is hard to believe. I know from electric that they sold paraffin lamps before they sold electric lamps and got into that. But we are really invested in our own journey as a business in renewables through Planet Mark and through helping our customers, mainly electrical installers, to get into doing more renewables. And obviously, there's a big drive in that at the minute. So obviously, from our point of view, we talk a lot now about the death of gas. And it sounds quite dramatic, but you know, for various reasons, people are moving towards electrification. So that represents a lot of opportunities around, you know, more eco-friendly homes and businesses, with regard to some very core, you know, sort of things that we can do as individuals, as I say, as businesses, to make our properties more eco-friendly. And our job within our business, where most of our industry is fully engaged on just providing boxes, shifting boxes to electricians and to installers, we take a very big part in project management. We find that people need a lot of help to get their projects done. And there may be people in this room that absolutely you're here because you're crusading for, you know, the world ecology and, you know, for carbon reduction. But what are you able to achieve in your own homes and your businesses? So, yeah, from my point of view, we are a solution provider. So I have left some catalogues at the back of the room, which you're welcome to have. You might think, you know, we are a commercial organisation, but we are an essential part in that supply chain. And this is a solutions booklet. It's not, you know, a catalogue, Argos catalogue with prices in and just selling a few bits and pieces. But what we can do is we can offer you a free solar design service to show you what your, you know, property can achieve, which can be done simply through a Google Earth image and through some import of your electrical data from your energy provider, to give you an idea of what a system would cost to get installed. And we can introduce you to local installers that can help you for a solar installation, or indeed for electric vehicle charging, you know, or voltage power optimization, or even solar thermal if you're a business and you want to take your carbon savings to kind of like the maximum opportunity. So yeah, just from the point of view of solutions, there's some information in the catalogue. And it has to be said that one thing that we haven't touched on yet is that, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, the payback on a simple photovoltaic solar system for a home or business was around about 9 to 12 years. But realistically, because of the energy crisis and because of obviously the urgency placed on especially businesses with this kind of, in a lot of cases, 600% energy price increase they're facing, as gathered, it's a great opportunity for us to push things forward, because all of a sudden it isn't just about carbon saving. And I use the word dithering a lot. A lot of the time it's more about not fully understanding what you can achieve, finding the budget for it. But at the minute, we're all, as individuals and businesses, looking to find the budget more than we ever have because of the energy price. So as bad as it is, it represents an opportunity, I think. So now we're talking on a solar system around about 3 to 5 years on a payback. For a system that on your home could last 25 years, or indeed your business. So the paybacks can be for businesses in the millions, even for small to medium-sized businesses, if you look at it in that way. And we can help you to understand that opportunity and to, you know, maximise that opportunity in a cost-effective way. And with businesses with some support with finance packages as well, if they don't have the capital investment. So I'm more than happy to stay behind and have a chat with people after, rather than take up any more time, because I appreciate, you know, Marion letting me have a few minutes of your time. We both seem to think we could do something to help you as an organisation group. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, my number and contact details are in the catalogue. And I guess my final comment would be that the change we're making is about, you know, Kevin was saying about the difficult conversations, you know, being the one in your family that's prepared to sit at the dinner table and change the subject. And if we all do that, and then other people go on and do it, that's how we make a change. Talking about it and knowing a way to achieve that change. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on. We've got 2 minutes left till 12, Kevin. You want to go over a few minutes?
Okay, hold that up for each other.
So what next then for the Climate Action Project? Obviously, we're coming towards the end of this first year, our pilot year. This was all a big experiment on which we wanted to build. It was a leap of faith that we took to start this project. We've learned a lot in this short space of time. There's some challenges we set ourselves that we haven't been able to do, and others that we didn't know we were going to do. So, you know, kind of worked out. But we got some ideas of the things that we want to do next. And some of this is linked to some of the funding that we've been able to get as well, that takes us a bit further into next year. But we do need bigger plans, and I think, and I'll come on to that in a moment. So we're going to carry on doing the work in supporting Glamis Hall transition, because actually everything that has happened on this project has been because Glamis Hall has been supporting this project. It's been brilliant for us that we've had a community organisation to work with who has a building, who has the range of challenges that everyone else has, and that we're able to help them, and then they're helping the community. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank them for all of their support. But they've got other work that they need to do internally, and as we do this stuff, then we can share the story with other businesses and organisations. You know, we sat in the room with Paul and Jeff from Northampton the other day about the whole challenge around energy storing at Glamis, and it was complicated, but I want to make it more straightforward for the next business that's trying to learn, or the next community organisation that's trying to learn how to do this. Obviously, we want to launch the Energy Advice and Climate Action Service. We've still got a lot more work to do to work out how to make that work, what it actually does, and how to make it sustainable. We want to, where we're offering services, we want to do them, connect up with things that are already there, but we've been finding it hard to find out exactly what is already there and how we link up with those services. So that's been a challenge for us, but we do want to work out exactly how we can support and provide meaningful advice to both families and communities, but also to businesses as well. I mean, somebody asked a question earlier, and I forgot to say, probably Kerry, it might be Derek, about workshops around advising business about action. And that's one of the things that we've also got planned, is we've been working with colleagues from Northlands Business Network. We're looking to create a business sustainability network, and that's why I need to talk to this lady here, Victoria from University of Northampton, who seems to be doing something similar, and just see how we can support business to take action. And the first practical action we will do within that is to offer some workshops similar to the ones that we've already done, but for business, particularly around how to create their own carbon, how to map their carbon footprint, how to create their own carbon reduction plan and sustainability plan, but also to do other things. So they're some of the things we've got in train. So they're the workshops that I mentioned. And I think the big thing for us that we set as a goal at the beginning of this project was creating a climate transition forum, whatever we called it, a climate action forum for the town. And we haven't quite got there yet. We've been, you know, waiting to see the steps that the town council takes and how we can live with that. But we do need a forum in the community where community organisations, businesses, and the councils can collaborate together, and we start taking action, we start directing and joining up all our activities and getting the benefit, whether it's from business activity or town council activity or Northlands activity or individual activity. We need to have that forum to start taking and planning action. Because one of the other things we've been looking at is creating a climate transition fund. You know, people may have heard of offsetting. People heard of offsetting. One of the ideas that popped into my brain as I sat there learning at Cranfield University how to do a carbon reduction plan was, once you've done that as a business, you can then take action to, you might set your net zero target at 2030 or 2035, but you could do offsetting between whilst you're trying to work that down. And I thought, well, okay, it's great that we're supporting other communities in other parts of the world, but what if we used a fund, created a fund locally that could help us all to come up, all to move forward together? Because this is the first time I've been a green campaigner for decades now. This is the first time I've done work to do with green action that I've actually been paid for. And, you know, that's criminal considering what we need to do and the transitions we need to make. So, because we need to help lots more people to take this action. So we've got some ideas about that. We're interested in talking to people about creating a transition fund that can help us all take action. And then we are also, we've got a plan, an idea to do a nature-based climate transition project. Well, linked to some of the work that we've been doing through the Eco Group and other things that we've done in the past. But I haven't had the headspace to sit down and work that all out yet. But we are hoping to link with the likes of Nen Valley Trust, you know, the people that did the Nenscape project. There's lots of potentials to do some practical actions on an urban basis within Wellingborough, but also on the rural basis. So we went along to the Eyes strategic partnership, Eyes Valley strategic partnership. And loads of planning and actions coming in there, and we can see that climate action can be taken there, and we can draw in some other funds to support that as well. So these are our ideas and our thoughts. And really, I wanted to ask, and I know we'll run out of time, but given, I mean, this is a very nebulous question in a way, and given Derek's point that was very well in the meeting, are these the right priorities at the moment? I mean, it's enormous what we could do. We've been trying to think of some practical things that we could do. So we covered lots of topics through the workshops. We're talking now about doing 3 main threads. One is about energy advice and climate action, retrofit action for people, families, and for business where we can help. Next is working with the business sector around learning how to take carbon action and reductions, and then think about their business in a new way going forward. And the third one would be around nature-based actions as well. Alongside that, we need the forum for our community to exist, through which people can start collaborating on action. And if we do create a fund, we can actually set priorities locally on how we use that fund. So they're the main threads. What are people's thoughts? Kelly?
So in response to the question, are these the right priorities? Is this what we should be doing? My feeling is yes. I'm a big fan of the phrase, start where you are, use what you've got, do what you can. And things will change, you know, what we can do will be different. We need to keep an eye out for opportunities. But yes, I think this is a good plan, and I'm sure it'll adapt as opportunities arise.
I just want to make clear, I wasn't critical of anything this group is doing. I think that's extremely important. And I think local action is very important because people need to be involved. But the problem we face is a very big one. We do climate cafes, there's outreach to try and reassure people, but we need to tell the truth. We are running out of time. We've not got years. We certainly haven't got decades. It's a very small window of opportunity. So yes, local groups are brilliant, but we need to get the message out to a wider audience. We have been lied to, you know as well as I do, by the big oil companies, etc. And I hate telling lies. That's my wife, that. But you know, it's hard to tell the truth. The conversations I find difficult is, how do I speak to my children and grandchildren about climate change? When I asked our youngest son, I said, Liam, what's your biggest worry? And he said, nuclear war. Now that's just come on the scene. I thought I'd given that up in 1962, but it's back there because of what's going on in Ukraine. And I said, well, okay, what about climate change? Yeah, it's going to happen, but it's too late for us to do anything. And that's someone who is in their 30s. What about your children? We're not going to have children. They have decided not to have children because they don't see a future. And I know he's not alone in that. So, Arian, I love what you're doing. And the only reason it's taken me so long to get here is that every other time we've had it face to face, I've been doing something else. So, thank you for what you're doing. And you'll get my support 100%.
Thank you. I think, yeah, yes and yes. to get businesses as well, because we've reached a lot of people, but the point that I made about schools, that reaches everyone. And I think the thing that we've all got to do is reach people who wouldn't necessarily want to be reached because it's too terrifying. Totally get that, but we need to be engaged in various levels. So if you can get people at school, because as many of us have quoted, that's where it started, and we became aware of it. So actually targeting schools as well, targeting schools. You know what I mean?
Quickly grab the microphone, Kerry. I'm just going to quickly answer Kerry's point, because I've got to add to our the Wellingborough Eco Group presentation that actually we are partnering with the school. So I don't know why I forgot that, but there we go. So our Wellingborough schools are already partnering with the Weaver School. They're going out litter picking once a week, once every 2 weeks, which is excellent. They're also doing various tidying up initiatives, including tidying some of the underpasses around the town. Amazing. The Eco Group is looking for a partnership with Little Harrowden Primary School. So it's in its very infancy, which is probably a bit like the winter warm thing. I haven't done the poster for it, so I haven't put it in the presentation about that. But we're going to try and do a learning sort of thing that then we can take around other schools and share that with. And Little Harrowden School are very interested in us doing that. And last week, actually, the Bristol Hatton come in and want us to do different cookery things, and they want to join in with us, both at their school and at our new Eco Hub. So that's some of the major players in the town that we're already engaging with. And I'm sure once they get involved, then everybody will feel one thing.
Taking it from a sort of a funder's perspective for BCSE group. What is the sort of, what do you think are the main priorities that need funding, either from the perspectives of your own organisations or just the BCSE sector at large? What are sort of your main asks that you want to put out there?
Clearly, we've noted these as our next step sort of thing. I think that's quite a big question to answer. In a way, in terms of taking action moving forward, the biggest thing we all need to do is get together and start agreeing some actions together. So if NCF, Northamptonshire Community Foundation, can think, well, how do we support communities? Obviously, you cover the whole of the county. So how do we support community groups, large or small, just like ours, to start this journey? We've got frameworks and models to offer, but everyone needs to start, whether we do it in our families or businesses or in our communities or whatever, we need to start. So can NCF think about sort of seed funding to enable community groups to begin this process? And then also how you use funding to enable those groups to network and connect with each other across the county, and how we are then linking in with the big players like the university and the local authorities, to be the two main primary councils, to move forward, and also how we link with business, because I think that's going to be a big mover if we can really galvanise the energy of business and collaborate with business. And obviously I mentioned North Northampton Business Network. There's probably a similar one in the west of the county, but the point is that they're doing work connecting business together. They're trying to make that commercially sustainable, but actually they need support to do that joining up with business, because the benefits that come from that collaboration across business is not only going to develop and help those individual businesses be sustainable, it's also helping the work that we all need to do moving forward. So it's starting to chunk up the challenge. Think very small scale, how do we help community groups, how do we help, whether it's community group on theme or whether it's a geographic community group. And then using the framework of NCF to bring in bigger pots of money, perhaps, and collaborative networks. Maybe NCF works with us alongside the National Lottery to see how we can bring bigger frameworks of finance in to the community, because obviously you guys understand so much more. I know you only do smaller grants generally, but you've got a good insight how to bring money into the county. So it's learning from that, and then I have started a conversation with Rachel, obviously from both Rachels actually, from NCF about the community chest or the community transition fund idea, and how, you know, we could maybe think of a way of creating that within the community, because there will be businesses, there will be communities taking action, there'll be families that are taking action, but also think they're up for sticking a few quid in the pot to help other people take action. That's the simple basis of that. So NCF has got a significant role to play, both for little village groups in parishes, but also and community groups around bigger urban areas, but also across the whole frame. Job again.
Can I just answer your question as well? Because as well as all of these hats that myself and Marion wear, we also run a community resilience forum that connects lots of community and business organisations. Funnily enough, it's this afternoon at 2 o'clock, so you've just about got time for lunch before you jump on that, because I can send the Zoom link. But that is literally connecting, I think it's up to 34 different organisations around the town, from Wellingborough Town Council to the Victoria Centre, Food for Thought, to a lot of people that are here coming up. And we do that on the last Friday afternoon of every month, 2 till 3:30. And it's basically trying to share resources. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. I think you've got that sort of thing going on already. So if you can join in with that, great.
Thank you very much. Any more points on these priorities? And people think it's generally, yeah, cool.
Yeah, just I think I touched on at the end of my little chat what the opportunity that the energy crisis represents, and fuel poverty and everything that's going on. I think Glamis Hall is a really good testimonial, a great case study, and it shouldn't be treated any different than any other school or business installation. And having learned from that, it would be a good idea to use that as a way to get some quick wins, to get some businesses to invest in that. And similarly, you know, as L2 changes for the new year, the new homes to have a mandatory 2.5, kilowatt system fitted, then maybe if you had a case study for a home or social housing or any grants, or indeed for individuals and private people to be able to see that it's now a 3 to 5 year payback rather than a 10 to 12. People might look and think, actually, you know what, this situation is only going to get worse. And even if the energy things plateau and maybe go back a little bit with electric, we know it's always going to go up with gas. But as the fuel tariffs separate again, then people will want to get away from gas, more to electrification. And the more you can show them how simple it is to get free energy, we all know, I think, as climate people, that the sun could power the world 10,000 times over without wind and hydro and everything else. So for us not to be filling on news in the same way that your 3-minute video show across the world is kind of the bizarre thing that technologies.
Is there anything you want to say, Greg, about these priorities, Lee? Yeah.
We should just listen. I suppose the only thing that is obviously missing is the link with government authority at every level, to the town council, which is sort of parish council level, local hats, and upwards. Because doing things in isolation, you often bump up against contrary policy that made sometimes years ago balanced and imposed. You only have to look at the Northants strategy to see its priorities are not necessarily 2022's. And it's only 7 years old. So yeah, that's the only link that I can see.
Well, we have obviously tried to engage with colleagues from the internally. I think they've been getting their own house in order. I have heard a few speeches from colleagues from the last couple of days, actually, I've been met with them a couple of weeks ago. I'm hopeful that next year, once they're clear on their own plans internally, that they will start to engage more with us on this and provide a bit more of that opportunity. We did plead with them, maybe plead is the right word, but we did point out that actually, as we had a conversation with colleagues from the town council, we also pointed out that if they could play a role in helping bring the climate forum together for the whole of the North Advance area, and not necessarily have to do it all, and we don't expect them to do it all, but just play that role to enable it. And that would be, if they did nothing else, that would be a wonderful thing for them to do, because it would help all of us come together, all the communities of the area come together and start to think about it. I mean, I joined, as I say, the Northamptonshire County Association of Local Councils climate conference the other day, and there's lots of people from the parish councils and the town councils really keen to take action too. And we need the big players in the room to help support that. They have done, Northampton has commissioned work from electric places around a plan of really radical action that could be taken. We're waiting to hear what that plan could be. December, January time, and then see, but we are continuing to engage, and I know it's very late. Anyway, so just kind of summing up then, I think, unless anybody's burning to say anything else. So, yeah, I mean, are there any, obviously you've been enjoying this today, some of you came to the climate conversations in March. You see, we've done quite a lot of work. We knew this first year was going to be about finding out about stuff, and we're still trying to find out stuff. We're getting a bit of a plan together, but we won't be able to do it. You know, this cannot be just about myself and Jonathan in a room. This has to be about other people now starting to step in and playing a role in whatever way you can play a role to enable us to start going forward. I mean, in a way, I should step back a bit now, going forward from the new year, apart from going out and doing retrofit assessments everywhere. Because it should be about the community stepping forward and how we collaborate through a strategic way of doing this. And I hope that's something will emerge. But so I invite you again to carry on with this journey with us and come and help wherever you can. Are there any other questions or final thoughts before we finish? Was it useful today? For the camera. Was it useful today?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And it is about working together. You know, it does take a lot of energy not to be despondent, but when I think about practical things we can do, that will just help. And you know, so there's lots and lots of practical things to do. I'm heartened to hear how many organisations are starting to think about their own actions as well as thinking about how to collaborate. So now we just need to put it all together really and just carry on moving with this. But obviously put the accelerator down a bit as well, eh? So there's our contact details. If there's nothing else that anyone wants to say, I just want to thank my colleague Jonathan for helping us today and get this all sorted out. Our friends here at Victoria Centre for making us both making us all very welcome. And everybody, to all the people that come to speak and share, because you know this is all about all of us really. So thank you everybody, and I hope we just keep working together. And well, I could say Merry Christmas. Couldn't I? So we've got a few display stands at the back. As I say, the winter warm space. There's a winter warm space operating here at the Victoria Centre every Tuesday. There's a new one starting at Glamis, which is going to be 4 days from hopefully next Thursday. And we're also going to look to see about getting a list of all the other ones in the town as well.
Saturday one here in the new year.
And the Saturday one starting in the new year. So I think how effective they are and how quick they kick in, obviously we'll have a directly linked to how cold the weather is. But you know, a lot of people, even though it's not that cold at the moment, a lot of people are very concerned and struggling and worried about Christmas. So anything we can do to help all for good. But Well done, everybody.
All of that information we're planning to put on a website called wellingborough.org, with Wellingborough organisations, funny enough. So, but again, I talked about it earlier, but we're going to have a special project page, hopefully Kevin and St Mark's Church and ourselves at the Glamis Hall Eco Hub are going to sort of share. There's many more as well.
Making use of the various pieces of paper. So you've got a leaflet about the Climate Action Project on the back. Sally has brought some newsletters about the town council's activities. This is does this go up to Christmas?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And also there's a questionnaire about the corporate plan for the town council. Read on that, and obviously Paul mentioned this booklet as well. And there's other leaflets down there for the Eco Group. So anyway, that's it. Thanks very much, everyone.